Hi, I'm Colin Stagnito, filling in for Alyssa Cobb. Come fly with AOPA. This week, tips for flying first-time passengers, a Vans aircraft update, and exploring the Chesapeake Bay.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today.
Starting us off, social media marketer Eric Webb gives us some tips for safely taking passengers on their first flight.
Something I like to do to put a passenger's mind at ease is compare flying to something they're more familiar with, such as driving. Much like a car is designed to absorb the bumps of the road, an airplane is designed to absorb the bumps in the air. It'll happen, but there's nothing to worry about. It's totally normal. Something else that's helpful is to do the pre-flight inspection with the passenger. That way they can see all the different things that you're checking and be assured that the airplane is indeed safe and in good shape to fly. During pre-flight, you'll also want to brief the passenger on doors, seat belts, emergency procedures, fires, etc. FAA requires this for every flight, so let us know in the comments below if you'd like us to do a video on that. I'll also remind the passenger that just because I'm reading a checklist doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing. A lot of times that will put people off. I reassure the passenger and let them know this is something I'm doing to make sure I don't forget any of these steps. It's a checklist to keep everything safe and keep us safe. Even minor details like explaining the aircraft's call sign can be helpful in letting the passenger participate in the flight. Something else that's helpful is picking a good day to go fly. As seasoned pilots, some of us are thinking, oh, the wind's blowing 10, gusting 15, no problem, let's go do it. Probably not the best scenario for flying somebody for the first time. You want to pick a day that's clear, the winds are fairly calm, and there's not going to be any turbulence so that they feel more comfortable in the flight. Something else I like to do is give the passenger a heads up on any movement of the airplane and any changes in power.
All right, we're going to make a gentle right-hand turn.
24 South Charlie, take off for departure westbound.
And here comes our right turn.
Another thing to talk about is engine noise. Let them know during takeoff the engine is going to be loud and create a lot of power so we can climb. But once we reach cruise altitude, the engine power will come back, which is totally normal and takes care of the engine. The other thing to warn them about is descent, that you will be pulling the power back to idle, that nothing is wrong, it's all part of the process. So continuing to reassure them that everything you're doing is normal and continuing to talk them through every step that you're doing along the way will help put their mind at ease.
I'm going to start descending again, so I'm going to lower the power, decrease the power.
It's also pretty common for a first-time passenger to be really excited about the flight and talk nonstop through the flight. We've all experienced it. One thing to remind your passenger is that there are some times when you need to have the cockpit as quiet as possible so you can hear calls from ATC or just focus on the flight without distraction. So remind your passenger that during takeoff, anytime in the traffic pattern, and during landing, that you need to have the cockpit as quiet as possible so you can focus on flying and not miss a radio call. If necessary, use the pilot ISO switch on your radio system. Be sure to familiarize your passenger with the heating and cooling systems of the airplane in case they need to increase their comfort if they're too hot or too cold. Encourage them to bring a bottle of water or perhaps a snack in case they feel thirsty or hungry during the flight. And a good idea is to keep a couple Six Sacks on hand just in case. What are your thoughts? No fun? Miserable?
The coolest thing I've ever done.
Yeah?
The coolest.
All right.
Nothing is ever going to top this.
Unless we go again, right?
Unless we go again.
If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and then let us know in the comments what some of your first-timer flying tips are. See you next time.
Well, thank you, Eric, for those tips. Those were excellent. And I've usually found that new passengers, they just want a simple flight and a safe landing. Now we have an update on the Vans aircraft bankruptcy proceedings. Vans will give customers waiting on orders that include non-airframe components 2 weeks to decide whether to accept or reject price increases for engines, propellers, and avionics, ranging from 3 to 13%. Now, more than 60% of customers have already agreed to a 30% price increase. That's for kits without engines, propellers, and avionics. But importantly, Vans needs 70% of customers to accept the price increases to make reorganization feasible. The Vans reorganization plan is due in early March. Piper has a new product announcement coming up next week. They're calling it the next generation of Piper Performance, and AOPA will reveal the new product on our YouTube channel on February 6th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. Now we have a few advocacy updates. pilots and community members rallied behind Zamperini Field in Torrance, California, in a rare form of unity after an alternative land use study threatened the closure of the airport. Now, the City Council voted on January 23rd to defer action on a land use study, but the city is still enforcing a ban on touch and goes, back taxis, and low approaches. And AOPA notes that the FAA has exclusive authority to regulate these airport operations, and these actions could shift flights to neighboring airports in the region. It's obvious that all involved understand the value that the airport brings to the community, but this value can't be realized if restrictions continue to escalate and airport operation bans remain. A longer-term plan bringing the community, airport advocates, and the city together is really needed here. Pilots at Driggs, Idaho are petitioning to retain the first 2,000 feet of runway 4 at Driggs Reed Memorial Airport after the city announced plans to remove it as part of the current airport improvement design project. Now, the city of Driggs said the first 2,000 feet must be removed to move the runway protection zone northeast in order for the rest of the project to comply with both legal and safety requirements. This will require a 2-month runway closure. The petition suggests keeping the first 2,000 feet of runway as a stopway. This would enhance safety in case of an aborted takeoff or long landing. This would also enable the runway to remain open while the 2,000-foot extension is added to the northeast of the runway. Last call for AOPA scholarships. Now, every year, AOPA gives away over $1 million of scholarships. And this includes $2,500 to $14,000 for primary training, advanced ratings and certificates, aviation maintenance, and more. One application covers all scholarships for which you might be eligible, and you can apply by going to aopa.org/scholarships. AOPA scholarships are made possible by generous donations to the AOPA Foundation. Last week, Ian Twombly and David Toulis brought you on part 1 of their tour around the Chesapeake Bay. Now we look at part 2.
Yeah, so this landing is a little tricky, mostly because we got the SIFRA right off the end of the runway, and the wind is pointing towards that runway, so we're going to have to keep the turn tight. In terms of grass, I mean, I'm not too worried about it. We haven't had a lot of rain. It's, I think it's in good condition, I've heard. So it's really just trying to make a generally light touchdown and not forcing it on, but it's not too much different, honestly. There are no wheel vans on this 182, so that makes it easy. Nothing we have to worry about.
And you're coming in over the bay, so you got a clear approach.
Yeah, exactly. The thing with grass is, you know, there's usually no vazzy or pappy or anything, so you're going to have to judge the height yourself. There is a little tree there off the end we'll just watch out for. But easy peasy on this one. Little dip there.
Ian, you landed us here at the grass strip at Kentmore. Came in for lunch. We got a late lunch, you can tell from the sun angle. How was it?
The landing or the lunch?
Well, we'll grade the landing later.
Okay.
Tell me about the lunch.
Lunch was awesome. I mean, this is such a cool airport. So, you know, if you've been to a flying community before, you're familiar with like hangar homes and how that works. This is a public use hangar home community, basically. So you got this gorgeous grass strip, literally right on the water. You've got these really nice homes, people walking their dogs everywhere. It's just a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
You just walk down the street, I mean, 2 blocks, and you eat at the beach bar, and man.
The Kentmore Marina, and it was
yeah,
awesome.
It was fantastic.
I got a baked fish that was excellent.
And we got the crab cake, which was fantastic.
And we got a seafood pizza.
A seafood pizza, yeah.
But it is beautiful. No, the landing here at the grass strip really was uneventful. You came in, you circled the field a couple of times, which is probably a pretty good idea for a lot of fields if you're not familiar with it. There was some traffic here to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
But generally, it's well maintained. The grass is not too high. It hasn't rained in a while.
Right.
So the conditions were good.
Yeah, I mean, it was no problem. The one thing is, you know, you can't expect a flat surface. So for example, in the flare, and it's like, oh, there goes the ground. It's like bottom dropped out, and so we were a little higher than I expected, but that's fine. It worked out fine. It's funny, the wind as we're standing here, we've noticed that a bunch of people were taking off downwind, and so this is something that I think you have to balance at airports because they say noise abatement. They want you to take off on 2.8, which right now happens to be downwind. And so it's like, well, are we going to follow noise abatement or are we going to do what we think is the better thing to do? And 2 minutes ago, I would have said, yeah, we can take off on 2.8 because the wind was light, but now feeling it now, no, we're going to take off the other way. So that's just,
That's true.
Yeah.
This week, we leave you with more footage of flying around the northern part of Chesapeake Bay, courtesy of our video editor, Michelle Walker. Be sure to send in your favorite flying videos. You might just see them on an upcoming show. If you're not already an AOPA pilot, we'd love for you to join us. Just click on the link at the end of this video to learn more about our trial membership. We'll see you next week.